But in terms of the guy himself, actually, I don't think he would want anybody to feel sorry for him. I didn't really feel sorry for him, but I walked away from it going, he's a fundamentally really good fella, and you always hope that good things happen to good people. But I do wonder with Wilfried, and I do wonder about Tannadice and what's lying and wait for Celtic up there, because as we've spoken about since the weekend, Jim Goodwin was at Hampden to watch the St Mirren game, and he'll have his own formula in mind for what he wants to do about this system. And again, he's quite defensive about the system. He keeps saying it's not really the system. We're not defending with 5, we're defending with 4, but it doesn't change the fact, it doesn't alter what you're seeing with your own eyes, which is that Celtic are wide open. They're swinging like a barn door at the back, and have been in all 3 games. They've lost heavily in terms of goals against. And it will need to be a very different version of Celtic and Wilfried Nancy's vision for the team if they're to get in and out of Tannadice unscathed tomorrow night, I think. It already looks as if it's going to be another sort of difficult 90 minutes, testing, challenging 90 minutes for them.
Well, you say it's obviously Tannadice tomorrow night for Nancy and Celtic, but you can look at Celtic's fixtures now. I mean, over the coming, what's that, 2 weeks? Dundee United away, even Aberdeen at home. Aberdeen are now, I think, unbeaten in 7 league games. Livy away is always hard. Motherwell away. I mean, what a season Motherwell are having. And then, of course, Rangers at home. Did Nancy give any clue today that perhaps he will change his tactics whatsoever? No.
And from just what he was said and the way it was delivered, I'd be astonished if he does. This is what I'm saying. He's kind of compartmentalising it by saying, look, it's nothing to do with the system. You and I and everybody else can look at it and say, well, it's everything to do with the system.
No.
But not in his head. It's not. And what he's asking the players to do isn't all that different in his head, even if it is in theirs, and even if they look confused by it. So no, I don't see him taking a backward step with that one, Daniel. I think it will be the same again. He'll just ask his players to do it better. And we've heard that script before, and we know how it usually works out. But who knows?
Do you know what I don't get about it, Keith, right, is that, see when, for instance, there's been comparisons with Ange Postecoglou and his sticky start as Celtic manager, lost 3 of his first 6. But when he came in, you could see what he was trying to do. You could see with that 4-3-3, the high-octane, high-press, all-out attack. But see this with Wilfried Nancy, when you see, glimmers of what he was trying to do, I mean, Liam Scales is a left forward, and Maeda was sort of at one point centre mid, and Ralston does. I just don't quite see it at all. Like, if it's all going well, what is Liam Scales going to be doing, flying, overlapping Maeda? I just don't get it.
Do you want him there? Do you want him there? That's what I keep coming back to. I remember when we were watching the kind of first version of Russell Martin's Rangers, and Max Aarons was playing left back, and he was basically pushing Raskin out of the centre of the pitch. Raskin was coming out wide. So when I'm looking at it, these things, you're looking and saying, well, what's the purpose? What's the point? Why would you take your best central midfield operator out of the centre of the midfield and have him on the left-hand side, so that a fullback whose distribution is nowhere near up to that standard or required level, why would you have him try to dictate play for the middle of the pitch? I look at what I think was the period of the match against St Mirren that Wilfried Nancy quite liked, which was probably the kind of first half, last 20 minutes or so of the first half. And that's exactly right. It is Liam Scales, your central sort of left-sided centre half, getting on the outside, overlapping and underlapping Kieran Tierney on the left-hand side. And my view on that is, do I want Liam Scales there? Probably not.
No.
Do I want Engels maybe to be in an area like that, or Maeda, or but I'm not sure I want my centre half being the guy that's charged with doing your creative work down the flanks. So that's a concern when you look at the system, and let's be honest, we're not sure what it is that Wilfried Nancy has seen that he actually did like. But if it was that, And that was the period in the game where Celtic were territorially a lot better, a lot more advanced in getting balls into the St Mirren box. So I'm guessing that's the period of the match that he liked. But my view is, well, I don't want my centre half there. I want one of my more skillful, productive,
Why would you want him there? That's what I don't get.
To get on the ball in these parts of the pitch. Look, he's certainly got his own ideas. Where I'm struggling a little bit is that he's saying his ideas aren't that big of a change, and this isn't all that big of a demand. And it's not really 3 at the back. It could be 5 at the back. It could be 4 at the back. So a lot of stuff that sounds as if it came from the coaching manual, and sometimes I think that sounds a bit like gobbledygook. I go with the eye test, Dan.
We can all see it.
And what I'm seeing so far, I don't think there's been much to like about it. And if that was the period of the game that he was happy with, then again, that would give me more questions and answers, because I want my most skillful, creative, talented players in those areas of the pitch, because they're the ones that are likely to do the most damage. If anything, if Liam Scales wants to get himself into the box and get in the end or something, then yep, I'm not opposed to that. But I'm just struggling with what it is, what this vision is.
Yeah, me too.
And that is an issue. I'm as much as I really like the guy today. I'm not going to pretend that I can't unsee what we've seen, Dan. Yeah. And what we've seen hasn't been particularly pretty.
In the comments, and we've got plenty of comments coming in on this, and if you want to get in touch on this, on anything else that takes your fancy, please do so in the comment section. Marzuno says, Keith, with 2 lads away at AFCON, Liam Scales is our only left winger. Marzuno's been on fire the last couple of nights, I have to say. Ewan says, the game they play in MLS is another galaxy compared to our game. He's doomed, I tell you. Chris Fraser simply says, please leave our club. AGSC Tech says, Nancy lacks a bit of humility there with nothing to prove stuff. So many underestimate Scottish football. It's complicated. Green Machine insists he can still be in a movie with a good ending. Timmy insists that Wilfried Nancy is going to make people eat their words. Paul says, I don't blame Nancy. It's all on the board. As far as I'm concerned, they have assets stripped the team and they've brought him into a complete mess.
He's certainly been given a bum hand, hasn't he? That was one of the questions, which I can't really tell you what the answer was, but at one point today, I did ask Wilfried Nancy. I said, look, the previous manager has been raising an alarm for months now, Brendan Rodgers, that this squad isn't equipped, that this squad lacks talent, and it lacks talent in a number of areas, and it needed to be addressed. I said, I know you've only been in for a couple of weeks, but is your assessment similar to that of Brendan Rodgers? And if so, do you plan on doing something urgent about it in January? As I said to you, I can't go into some barcode and all this, but it's interesting. I felt his answer was interesting. Put it this way, if I was a Celtic fan and I heard or when I read the quotes from Wilfried Nancy about that, it would lead me to determine that he doesn't think he's going anywhere fast. And, all this call, the calls for his head and get him out now, I think he's already planning for January, Dan. Now, he would be, wouldn't he? But I don't know. I guess that he's had a little bit of comfort somewhere, and that he knows he is going to get the chance to address some of the flaws that are in this squad in January. And again, that's going to be an interesting one, because if he buys players to fit his system,
how many names you need? To fit his system, how many players would you need?
Well, this is the thing. You're probably looking at 4 or 5 players in that team at the weekend who were not playing their natural position. Mm-hmm. So there's 4 or 5 right away. If you're having to put jams, square pegs into round holes, you would think that those would be at the top of Nancy's agenda in terms of recruitment. But